Welcome to the Open House Podcast, where women talk real estate. I'm Steph Douglas.
And I'm Kristina Moderis.
I feel like we've had a lot of exciting stuff happen for our company recently.
Ooh, what?
Well, I guess by the time this comes out, we'll have already, the New York Times article will have come out. In real time, full disclosure, it has not come out yet. But
that's so true. Exciting. Oh my gosh. I hope it's good because we can't.
I know. That's kind of always how it is when we're in a publication. We have very little control. Mm-hmm. So yeah, fingers crossed it's good. And then I don't know, like a couple other opportunities coming from TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. You're right. Sorry, my brain still doesn't work properly. I'm like, what's going on?
Like,
what are we doing?
Yeah. But yeah. And I just feel like also the buyers are able to get under contract a little easier right now, just because the interest rates are going down, and it's not the mortgage monthly is not as scary.
That's very true. How was your Valentine's Day? What'd you guys do?
Oh yeah, it was great. Last year we had like a intense one, not an intense one, but like we went out to eat and we did the whole prefix, and then we went to a show,
the cliche one.
And yeah, exactly. And then this year I was like, I am not interested. I also feel like this past holiday season I went out to eat at fancy restaurants so often. I feel like very burnt out by it. So we just cooked at home.
Yeah, I agree. It almost becomes like less special when you do that too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you want that lifestyle, and then you're like, okay, wait. Mm-hmm. It's like this is all tasting the same. Mm-hmm. It's all what. Mm-hmm. Did y'all find lobsters?
We went to H Mart to get lobster, and then we both like were in the fish aisle, and I was like, we were both like, not this year. I think we were both like kind of tired too. We were just like, let's not. So we went to Buffalina at like 4 when they opened to try to get in, and we sat at the bar, and it was really nice. And then we were like, let's watch a rom-com, and then we put on this movie that I hadn't seen, and it was not a rom-com, called Mud. It was still really good.
Oh yeah,
it was so good
with Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so good.
Not a rom-com, not romantic.
No, but still, that's good. We watched British Bake Off, which we're obsessed with right now.
I can't see Alan watching that for some reason.
Oh, he's obsessed. Actually, I gave him the choice last night. I was like, I mean, you can choose whether you want to watch a movie or a Bake Off, and he's like, he's so in. He loves a cooking competition show. Like he liked Top Chef. Which is interesting. Yeah, he'd think he'd be better at cooking. But no, he did a great job last night. And we're kind of on health kicks, which is fun. Mm-hmm. I also finished your nursery room.
Oh my god,
painting.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to see it. I was like looking on Etsy at stuff to put in our nursery, like art, and a lot of it I was like, wait, Steph could do this. Steph is a blooming artist.
I'm in my art era, but I now have to figure out, because I've been painting on canvases, and I have to figure out how to frame them. So this will be a perfect like test. Yours will. I can figure out how to like do. Well, it's kind of like if I want to do it anyway and like give it to people, you kind of want. I don't know. I'll loop you in so that it's a frame that you like. But I need to figure this out.
We're like sidebar.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. I guess we talked yesterday, but a lot has happened since.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I painted a dog, my sister-in-law's dog.
Oh, so that's fun. I love that.
It's calming. Everyone should have hobbies. Mm-hmm. I didn't have hobbies until like this year.
Yeah, yeah,
it's great. Anyway, your baby's coming soon.
Yes, coming soon.
Oh my gosh,
coming soon. Who knows? Maybe she'll be here when you guys listen to this episode.
I think so.
Yeah, probably. I'm 38 weeks tomorrow. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Yeah. And you need to send out your fruit.
The vegetable of the week.
Yeah. We look forward to it.
Okay, I will. But all good. And
I think she will be here. So I'm so excited. Okay, what are we talking about today?
Okay, we are. Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah. Yes. House hacking part 2, 3 proven options that generate income, helping you reduce mortgage costs. Wow, that sounds so I don't know. But yeah, but we love it. We love house hacking. This is our theme for the next couple months. And, if you hadn't listened to the first episode we put out, we talk a lot about why we were doing why we house hack. So
Yeah.
go listen to that first. And yeah.
Yeah. I like the why behind it is so important. And really, I mean, we talk about this a lot too, but mindset first. And then we're gonna get into some like practical ways to do this today. But house hacking is like our bread and butter. It's kind of how
Mm-hmm.
we fell into it by being scrappy and wanting to cover costs, and then realize that it's actually a really good way to like accelerate anything that you want to do financially. So if whether that's savings, whether that's traveling, whether it's investing, it's a good way to do it.
Right. And this actually makes home ownership an investment, I would say. Like,
Yes.
right? Like you don't want to just buy at the top of your budget and have a high mortgage and be like, well, I'll just depend on appreciation. Like you don't want to do that. Uh house
Yeah.
hacking, with house hacking, you not only can hope for appreciation, but you can also say, I'm eliminating my monthly payment, or I'm at least like eliminating the interest side of this payment, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're supplementing your mortgage and making it so that you're getting a return on your investment, which is literally what it means to have an investment or an asset, something that makes you money, doesn't distract money. And all to say, like you can buy a house and have it be a not doesn't make money and you're making equity, and that's more of a liability, I would say. But that's also fine. I just think that
Right.
we like to think of our first house as an investment, and that's what our whole community is about.
Right. And for some
So
people, they might be like, wait, what is house hacking? If you're
yeah,
just tuning in.
yes.
So, house hacking is when you buy a house to live in and you're supplementing your mortgage payment either through roommates or, you have a tiny house in your backyard, sneaky duplex. We're going to go through all the options today, but you are
Hmm.
lowering or eliminating your monthly mortgage payment through renting out parts of your home.
Yes. And we've done it so that we've cash flowed even on the place we live.
Mm-hmm.
So all good things. Even if you're not covering the whole thing, you're still supplementing.
Right.
So
And
the
actually, I don't think I've ever cash flowed through house hacking
Oh yeah,
personally.
because you're sane and no, no,
No,
but
no. I
but
just,
yeah, you've been very practical about it. You're like, I want my part of the mortgage to be this or below, and then you make it that way.
and I also have chosen to live, like, my priority is like, I want to live in an area that I enjoy. And sometimes, like, or like walkable. And sometimes you have to sacrifice that. Like, if you really want to eliminate your full monthly payment, you have to sacrifice something in this market right now, right? Because it's kind of like,
Yeah,
maybe like 30 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe when your parents are buying, that would be like super easy. It's
yeah,
not that way right now.
yeah. Right now we're dealing with sort of a higher monthly mortgage. So like if you're paying a part of it, that's totally fine, and probably more common.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many options, and it depends on your values. So like if you value privacy and like a
Mm.
nice living space and a large amount of space, then you probably, you're going to opt for certain options
Mhm.
of house hacking that are going to maybe make you a little bit less, but that's okay because those are your values. Like you want privacy and you want a large amount of space to live in.
Mhm.
But if you're, maybe you're 24 like we were, and we were like, we'll live in one room and like all
Mhm.
the other rooms will rent out. That's why it's so cool. House hacking is so cool because there's just so many like entry levels
Mhm. Oh,
that
yeah.
fit
I wish I
people's
was in my
values.
scrappy era sometimes, because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, man, I would just, like, I would save so much money every month." Like, yeah, when we want, I remember we were, like, renting out a room, renting and then doing Airbnb in another room. I remember when I was, like, younger, I, like, was renting a house and actually, like, Airbnb'd our back couch area. Like, it's just never again, but it was a good
Shared a
time.
bathroom with a stranger.
I one bathroom in my first house that I bought, where I like house hacked, and two strangers that I shared a bathroom with. But it was, I was like, I am saving so much money, and we
Yes.
set ourselves up for success. So it was great.
Right, right. It's all about where you are. It's about how much you want to like set yourself up for the future, and how many sacrifices you're willing to make in the moment. But yeah, so let's go into the first option.
Okay, so uh okay, this is like I think what most people think of when they think of house hacking is
Mm-hmm.
to invest in a duplex, triplex, fourplex. So essentially, if you duplex 2 units, triplex 3, fourplex 4.
Yeah.
So um and so essentially you would buy a duplex or whatever, live in one side, rent out the other,
Mm-hmm.
and love this option. Alas, everyone loves this option. So
Yes.
I feel like it can be a little tricky to find this option,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be a little bit more expensive because it's like the very standard thing when you think of investing, right? You
Yeah.
think of buying something like this.
It's like the least creative way to do this, which
Right.
doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just very obvious that you would live in one. It's already built for you. The other side is built and it's already private. And I think because it's so popular, it's hard to find more expensive. And then a lot of times duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes have been rentals forever,
Mhm.
and the owner has never actually lived there. So the condition that you find a lot of them in are it's a little bit rough. So you have to like do a lot to make it somewhere you might want to live potentially. This
Mhm.
is all varies based on properties, but
And
these are the problems we run into.
in Austin, I when I was trying to find a property, I was because my dad was like he was involved in like educating me a little, or he was trying to. He was like, you need to get a duplex or whatever. And I was like, okay. So I started like looking around, and in Austin at the time where the duplexes were, or the fourplex, triplex, whatever, they were not in an area that I wanted to live. Like, and they were
Mm-hmm.
all clumped together. So it
Yep.
almost, I would say, like an area that has a lot of these kind of properties. If you're even caring about appreciation, I feel like those don't appreciate as much, right?
Yeah. And it totally depends on zoning, right? In
Mm-hmm.
Austin, we have like certain areas that are zoned to be okay for duplexes and certain areas that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see like those, like you said, clumped together. And so the streets, it's a lot of renters, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, they're like, they kind of keep each other low appreciation rate
Right.
in some cases. It depends. I'm sure other cities are different. We're talking about Austin, but that's like we helped me and Kristina obviously started out as realtors. We helped so many people who were like, okay, I want to buy a duplex. And then they eventually decided to go single family because of the areas and because of like the zoning problems,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Everyone, and I always would ask people, so why do you want to buy a duplex? It's always asking why, and understanding what you've heard, because you might have heard from your parents or from googling like this is the best thing, and it is honestly, like if you can get that, that's great. It
Yeah.
just depends on the location. It depends on a lot of things that you're wanting. And
Yeah. It's very specific.
yes, very
Yeah.
specific, and lots of people are looking for this thing,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of competition, which means higher prices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
Which is why we created these other options because we ourselves ran into this. Like, yes, we would have loved to buy a duplex, fourplex, but these problems arose. And then also with our clients, it was like, okay, let's think outside the box. Like, what
mm-hmm.
else can we
Because they
can
were
we do?
competing with cash buyers, right? A lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. That and
Investors.
a lot of times it's investors. There's so many duplexes and multifamilies go cash. So yeah, all to say a great option. Anything else we want to
I would
say
say
about?
one of the benefits of this, though, is when you apply for a mortgage, right? So when you're applying for a mortgage, they, with a duplex or a triplex, and you're going to live there, they can take the income. I think you have to have a lease in place, or like, I don't know the
Yeah,
details right now.
things are changing, but
Mm.
I would say that it is like for financing purposes. Um, if you're doing FHA, you can still put a really low amount down, and I think they can count the rent because it's its own unit, like
On the
officially
other side. So that
on
will
the other
help
side.
you
Yeah,
get approved for more,
right, right.
essentially.
The downside for a duplex is if you're going conventional,
Mm.
then you do have to put a little bit more down. I think it's 15%.
Yeah.
So it's all we've made so many purchases, and every single one is different, and every single situation and scenario are different. So there's not like one blanket thing, which is why going into this, your mindset just needs to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, and as far as like why we say 15 versus whatever, you might not know this, but as a first time buyer, you can put as little as 5%, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
3% down. And so that's why we say 15%. That is often way higher than our buyers are putting down. A lot of our
Right.
buy actually we have the stats. We have a
Yeah.
stats blog of our last year, our 2023 home buyers, our first time home buyers. So you can go see all those stats of like what our clients are buying. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Maybe we can link it in the
hmm
show
yeah.
notes. I don't know how that
But
works,
most are
but
putting less
um,
than 10% down.
yes, exactly. And we are throwing around these like loan terms.
Mm-hmm.
FHA is a certain type of loan, and conventional is a different type of loan. But this all becomes really clear, and like listening to podcasts like these, it's like you're kind of going to get that vocabulary to start talking to lenders. But an FHA loan is government backed, and there's like just different requirements. There's different down payment minimums, and right now FHA rates are lower
Yeah.
than conventional.
Yeah, they are.
Um, so
Because typically, FHA, I don't want to get too much into it, but like if you have a lower credit score
yeah.
or lower income, that could be a really good route for you to look into.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think that does it. And
Hmm.
oh, the other thing you can think about with a multifamily, duplex, triplex, quadplex is the live-in flip. So you could
Mm.
say, okay, this is good enough for me to move into right now. I can live in one side, renovate the other, and then move into that side while you renovate the other. Or, there's
Hmm.
just a lot of flexibility as far as like renovating and living there while you do it.
Yeah, that's such a good point because yeah, the option two is
Yes.
getting creative with a single family home, which we love. I think that's how I feel like that is our bread and butter is like looking at
Yeah.
a single family home, especially one that has been overlooked.
Yes.
We love seeing it on the market for over 100 days or whatever. And we're like, what? Like, as long as it's not falling apart structurally, like, what are people hating about it? Hopefully, the price is lowering. There's more room for negotiation. So, we love that kind of home. We love
Yes.
getting creative with that kind of home, right, Steph?
Yeah, exactly. And like all of the downsides for a multifamily, they become kind of easier with a single family. Financing is a little bit less complicated, all of that. But with a single family, there's some people who say, I don't want this one because like the tile in the kitchen is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you can definitely address. That doesn't, it's not all to say that you have to renovate though. Like you could still find a move-in ready home.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at the layout. Is it conducive for either roommates or our favorite strategy, sneaky duplex, which is something we coined.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about sneaky duplex?
Sure. Yeah. So sneaky duplex is essentially when you section off part of your home and that becomes its own little like hotel room or like little unit. So like we've done it in both kind of ways where, when I was looking for my last house that I live in now, I was like, I need it to be a sneaky duplex because I wanted it to be like a brand new home. I knew it was going to be more expensive. I needed to offset my mortgage by a certain amount. So I was looking for homes with rooms in the front or rooms with like its own entrance or a way I could put my own entrance in. So we ended up buying a house that was a brand new build. This is the
Yeah.
first time I've bought a brand new build, and we put a sliding glass door in the front. We So this was a house when you walk in, there's the room. It's like a guest room on the left. There's a bathroom en suite with like a bedroom. So we put a bookshelf door, like a secret bookshelf door in the front, and put added in the or in the side inside the house, and then in the front put a sliding glass door. And our goal was to make $2,000 a month, and that would go towards part of our mortgage. So that's one way of doing it. And there's just a bathroom and a room. It's a hotel. And then Steph, you've
Yeah.
done it where you sectioned off your 9th Street home.
Yeah. We sectioned off the whole primary suite because that usually, that has a ensuite bathroom. And this one actually already had a door to the outside, because a lot of times, you know, you'll see the like the double doors to the patio or where to the backyard. We had a little courtyard and it was an alley access, so we just put a
Mm-hmm.
gate there instead of a fence, and so people are able to park on the alley and then go in through those double doors, and they have their own suite with a bathroom. There's a little mini fridge, microwave, coffee maker. Obviously, this one had like a nice big closet, and the room was like a decent size. So I did put a little table there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't need a table, but it is nice when, you know, in a hotel room, you're sitting at the desk
Yep.
or whatever.
And typically, I guess
Um,
they're not two kitchens. Like you're not going to have a kitchen in a sneaky duplex. I mean, you can try to do it. I forgot that
right.
yours doesn't have that, but yours is so much bigger than mine. You
Yeah.
could essentially do it if you wanted.
I could, yeah, definitely. I could have put a kitchen in, and really, like a kitchen, yes, you would probably need, and all of this stuff you don't need to check with your city about like the permits that are needed. Because if you're breaking a hole in the door, in the wall of the outside, a lot of times you will need a permit, but those are pretty easy. Like a
Yeah.
changing a window to a door is like an express
And
permit
we're
in
talking
Austin.
about that next week, permits.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect. So we don't even have to get into it. But yeah, you could do like a more extensive little kitchenette.
Hmm.
And the only thing you'd need to really run is water, and to have a little sink. But you could put like a little stove and a little and like a larger fridge, and have it be like an actual kitchen. But we do find that that just makes it more versatile,
Right,
right?
right,
The
right.
way that we have it right now um, is that the people are coming in for like 4 days
Yeah,
to 2 to 6 days,
right.
and like they're just eating at restaurants.
Yes, yes, that's true. So when you're thinking about a sneaky duplex option, the pros are obviously they do not come into your home. So you can live in the other side of your home and never see these people. You know, we have gone through many different iterations of soundproofing. So
Yeah.
we know, you know, we know all about that, and never actually have heard anyone complain about that in my sneaky duplex. I don't know about with you, Steph.
Amazing. We've one time we had um like the ducts were all connected,
Mm.
and there was some,
The
you
air
know,
ducts.
potentially some,
I
yeah,
just
like
thought
the air
like
ducts.
ducks, like quack.
Oh, the ducts are connected. The air ducts are connected because it's one house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm.
the problem we had with like the one house was that people were potentially doing some, actually it's not illegal in all places, but there was some weeds being smoked,
Oh.
and it was going into the other side. And so that wasn't noise, but it was like they were like, hello, like please stop. And we were like, oh yeah,
Oh, we need to test
okay,
that
we
out
will.
because as I'm
Yeah.
talking about this, like I'm like screaming into an air duct that goes probably,
Oh,
but I
oh
I
yeah,
need to test that
like it
with,
travels.
yeah, with our newborn coming. I need to.
Oh
We
yeah.
keep putting it off of like testing it, like going upstairs and like screaming,
Yeah,
seeing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how
Yes,
the
and seeing
sound
what it.
goes downstairs. But
Yeah, that I will say that is a downside
mhm,
to this strategy, is like having to be conscientious about the noise in your own house. So
yeah,
like a lot of times you don't have to, but people live in apartments all the time. People live in duplexes,
yeah.
triplexes, and like that's a reality of life in a lot of those places anyway. So
Yeah, pros and cons. Oh, okay. Another con I would say is, well, not con, but I would say like something to consider is when you're buying a house with and trying to sneaky duplex it, think you need to look at your area that you're trying to buy in. Are there other, like, why would someone want to have a hotel room in your
mhm,
area essentially? You know, like,
yeah,
is there anything close by? Like, because you can't, I don't know, sometimes you don't want to make it too cheap, like $50 or less a night, because sometimes the type of guests that you attract is not, it's just not worth it
yeah,
sometimes. It's not even about the money, it's like their age, like sometimes it just, it, I just from
yeah,
experience, that's what I've found. I'm like, it's just not even worth it sometimes because they
yeah,
complain about
yeah.
the littlest things and like, yeah.
Yeah, you would be surprised though, like if you're willing to deal with it, the places that people actually do need a room, you know, like it's not just the center of downtown. Like they're in Round Rock, which is a suburb of Austin. They have like the Dell Medical School,
Hmm.
and or yeah, the Dell Medical School. And so there's a bunch of people that come in town for like short amounts of time, and they just need a place to lay their head. And so there's stuff like
Like
that
a
where
dorm
you'd
room
be
almost
surprised.
too.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say if you're if you're open to like experimenting, it does work in more places than just the center of downtown,
For
you know?
sure. I agree. I think it just depends on, like, if you're, I guess in Austin it would work mostly because I don't know where there's
Yeah,
an area, maybe like Bastrop or something.
Bastrop would be tricky, but Mandy does it.
She has a sneaky
Remember people
duplex.
were, yeah, well, she did, and then she transitioned so her whole house is available. But yeah, I was like, remember, I don't know if you were there, but I was like, who is it? Like, why are they
Yeah.
there?
Actually, we're going to talk to Mandy
And,
soon about her
oh yes, oh yeah, that's
property
right,
in
that's right.
2 weeks, I think. So she can tell us all about that.
Yes, doing a sneaky duplex or an Airbnb in a more rural area, like not as bustling of a city.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's so interesting. Yeah. And I do think that if you're living in a town, even if it's not a big city like Austin, or a medium-sized city like Austin, there's if you're near a university, that you're like a lot of people come in town for stuff with that and like games or parents or I don't know.
And there's ways
There's
to
just
stick out too. I would say like
yes.
so many of these Airbnbs, when I look at them, they look so bleak. I'm like, literally hire a photographer. It will cost you
Yes.
$120 or less. I know it sounds maybe expensive for one room. I'm like, it could be cheaper. It's so worth it to have nice
Yes, yes,
photos and
yes.
like nice, give them some nice, like it's not a big space. It's like
Yeah.
2 to 3 sets of things. Get some nice sheets, get a nice mattress, like do that initial investment and you will stick out
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah. You'll be in the top 5%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could also look at it as a creative outlet, like especially like Mandy likes doing it because she was in hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
And so she likes to create a really good experience for people. And like the design of the space is important. People love that. The like what they're provided upon arrival, stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
is like it could be like a fun, like it's like a little mini business.
I also think this is my sister wants to do this, and I think this is starting like it's not that popular yet, but for anyone who is like an artist or creative, you could like there's some options where you could put like really cute things that like you made or something, like even your painting stuff, and like
Yeah.
it could be for sale. So she was like, I want to have like really cute ceramics or the coffee cups, and so like if they want to buy it they can, and I'll just ship it to them or something. Like there's so many
Yeah.
ways for it to be really creative and cute and lucrative.
Yes. Yeah, we have a friend who did hers, and her main value is sustainability. And so she
Mhm.
she like sustainability and like non-toxic living. And so she did a bunch of research, and everything in there is super non-toxic and sustainable, and all of like there's just ways to
And
express yourself in this, and like if you're willing to put the work in, it could be really fun. And then also, if you're like, I don't care about that, I just want money, you could hire a management company.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I still do that. Like sometimes we go to out of town and who's managing our sneaky duplex? We have a
Yeah.
great contact actually in Austin if you want to do that. So whenever we're out of town, I just like, message her, get on her website and she takes care of it while I'm gone.
So nice. Yeah,
Mhm.
the flexibility there is amazing. And we do have a lot of people who are doing this house hacking because they want to travel more. And so like it doesn't have to tie you down to Austin,
Mm-mm.
which is great.
Yeah.
I think that like the most basic and the most basic form of house hacking is having a roommate.
Mhm.
And if you have a 3 bedroom, you can have two roommates, and that could just kind of adds up. And that you get help with utilities, you get help, and that's if you're willing to share some space, that's a great way to do it without having any upfront costs. You
Yeah.
don't have to put a hole in the wall. You don't have to furnish it even. So yeah, that's if you're listening and you're like 23
Mm.
and you're living with
Do
roommates
it.
anyway, it's important
And
to do
think
this.
about this, like, I know people think like, I think that when people think of buying a house, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm tied to this thing." But if you're
Yes.
buying a house and it has multiple bedrooms, if you lose your job, what are you gonna do with a lease? You're
Right.
still gonna have to break it. You're still gonna have to pay all that money. What could you do with your house? You could get a roommate. You could get 2 roommates.
Yes.
You could move out and get 3, like, there's not it's still going to be a stressful time obviously when you lose your job, but like there's more options, and I think people
Yes.
get really freaked out like, oh my god, what if I lose my job and I don't have, I mean obviously you should be having some savings before you buy a house, but
Yes. Reserves.
reserves, but yeah, like you have options, like you could rent your whole
Yes.
house out and leave, you could rent a room out, 2 rooms out, whatever.
Yeah, the flexibility is actually safer by owning a home because you can create income from this property as opposed to just losing your deposit and having to pay to break a lease.
Right. Depending on how you set yourself up for success. That's why you really, working with our realtors of like, so when you buy your first house, you're not buying a money pit and you're thinking of like, am I going to the top of my budget and no backup plan? Like that's not ideal.
Right, right. And that is something that like our agents are really good about talking through people's options and trying to find the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're really worried about that and you don't have tons of reserve, maybe buying a newer property is better,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you can house hack a newer property so well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So, but yeah, the other thing to think about is HOA.
Mm.
If you are in a strict HOA and they won't approve a exterior entrance or whatever, I just like if this is in your plans, tell your agent. Ideally, you're
Yes.
working with an open house agent because they've already thought about this,
Right.
but you have to think about those things because you don't want to get in a situation where you can't do what you want to do.
Right. So like when you're buying a condo, there's typically some restrictions on what you can do. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but you need to know what the HOA says. And we are not against condos, but prefer a single family home when you're trying to house hack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that roommates in a condo totally fine. And most HOAs are totally fine with just like multiple people living together. But if you want to go even further, if you want it to be like a phase situation where maybe it's a roommate at first, and that's another thing, roommate at first, just to like get refresh your reserves, and then you're like, okay, now I have some money in the account to make it into a sneaky duplex so that I have a higher quality of life in my privacy.
Right. And what
Or,
and how we've done this before is like maybe you have a roommate who's a 3 to 6 month contract or a lease
yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
So you could have them there for 3 to 6 months, and it depends on your city again, but in Austin that's like been pretty successful. Or you could have like what I've done before is I rented a room for 3 to 6 months to someone, and then the other room I Airbnb'd. It had its own private entrance, but people were like totally fine with sharing a room, and I charged like
Yeah.
$50 or $60 a night, and people were doing it. So I mean that was a
Yeah.
while ago. I don't know if, but yeah, I'm sure like people in their 20s, young, like are still doing that, and they don't care.
Totally. Yeah. When I had my 3 bedroom, I lived in one room. I actually lived in the primary bedroom, which is luxury. And then I had a roommate and I got her first, and I was like, I'm planning to like probably get a third roommate as well. And I like, kind of told her about the Airbnb idea, and she was like, well, if you want to Airbnb the third room, I will manage it and you can give me a break on rent.
Wow.
And so she like cleaned it and she did, and she got cheaper rent. She did have to share a bathroom with someone, but like she was
Yeah.
open to that. So the limit does not exist.
No.
There are, you can be as creative as you want.
You'd be surprised. Like I shared this house that I house hacked was less than 900 square feet, and we had one little bathroom, and people were like
Yeah.
loving it. They didn't care. And I
Yeah.
I also think like there is something to when you Airbnb and you're the host and they meet you and know you, like it's
Yes.
different. And when I was younger, a lot of those people, like I became friends with some of these people, and like I would go out with
Yeah.
them and stuff. And not every some people listening to this would be like, that is my living hell.
Never. Yeah. I
It
know.
depends.
But it is hard to give a bad review to someone that you like met and is nice,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure your reviews are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's
I know.
time
It's
and a
so funny
place.
how yes, how our tolerance for sharing space like diminishes as we get older. But yeah, again, it's like there's an entry point for any level of, and it's not even some people who are 24 are like I would rather die,
Right. Mm-hmm.
it's not just age based.
No, it's not. And I mean,
Um
my dad had a roommate, and he was like in
yeah,
his
I
50s.
was literally about to say my dad is like living in someone's basement. Like who are we to say about age?
True, when our dads are having
um
roommates here and there
yeah,
in their
yeah.
50s, 60s,
Yes,
whatever.
exactly. Whatever, however. Okay, well, the next step or the next option is a favorite of ours as well. Definitely like a higher lift, but it's adding a tiny home to your property
Mhm.
or buying a home with an ADU already or an outbuilding or whatever, and renovating it into something, or like I just did 2022, bought something with a fully done ADU, accessory dwelling unit, granny flat, carriage house, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
yeah. And that is, sometimes that can be a little, obviously it's more money up front. Well, for yours it was just tied in, which was nice because
It was tied in, but it was much more expensive.
yeah, more expensive property.
Yeah.
And then also with like the conversion, so usually it's like, an old garage that maybe has a sink or maybe just has electricity, and then you have to plumb it. So put like, make sure it has water and electricity, and
Right.
it's like a whole thing, but at least the structure's there. If it's a sound structure,
Yeah.
you can like kind of get going. And then, or it's like a garage and you're just, it's a lot more work, or there's nothing there. You have to put concrete down and all this stuff. So there's lots
Right.
of different options for that. And I think actually the option I really liked that you did was you just had land and you were able to pull on a tiny house, which because when you're building something, you have to bring cash out or use like get a loan or something. With this one, you
Mm-hmm.
financed it, right? With the whole
Yeah.
tiny
Yeah. There,
house.
it's like a RV-ish type thing, but it's not an RV, it's an RV loan, and a little pre-built tiny home that comes fully done, like with the flooring in, and the fridge was even there, the stove. And it's so easy. It is a little bit more expensive than like actually at this point, probably not more expensive than
Mm,
what you could build in your own house,
yeah.
or build in your yard like from scratch. And yeah, you finance it. So you put a down payment. I put 20% down. Mine was $70,000.
I think
So
now they're
20%
like
of
100 or something.
yeah, they're more now. I bet at least 90. I haven't seen one under 90. But yeah, that's $18,000 as opposed to like,
100.
pulling out cash for all of, yeah.
Because how much
So
does we have a lot of stuff actually. You did a little guide on building your own tiny house, so it's on our website if you guys
yeah,
want it.
yeah,
But yeah, so instead of like you would put a down payment just like buying a house, like, and then you pay a monthly payment, but hopefully you can just start renting it out straight away and that will cover
yeah.
it. Um
Yeah, and cash flow.
and cash flow.
So ideally, there's like a margin there,
Mhm.
so that you can pay back your initial upfront cash, and then past when you pay it all off, it's just fully income, or it's just like an extra space for you, for your family, or for your office, or the versatility of having a little back house is the
Mhm.
dream. And I think a lot of people, this is also a pretty common one that people are like drawn to these days.
Right. And the pros, the only reason, because some people would be like, why wouldn't I just do this? Like, this sounds way better than building from scratch.
Yeah,
And I would say it's like, how do you get that thing in there? Like, you just have to make
yeah,
sure, because if you have a front facing house and homes on each side, how are you going to get it over there? Like, you're
yeah, you'd have to crane
not a
it.
crane. Yeah.
And that is, yeah. And that is, I've never done that, for the record. And I think that if you're, again, like once in your house search, it's okay, I want to do this. This is why you're listening to this. I'm so glad you're here and that you're like thinking about these things. Because when you're buying something, you're like, okay, could it fit in this amount of space, or do we have an alley access, or is it a corner lot?
Mhm.
Like, you're thinking through these things beforehand so that you have the versatility, even if you're not going to do it right away.
Right.
You want the option.
Right. And you're listening to this now, so you won't get overwhelmed. You're not just going to be like, I'm doing this tomorrow. You're taking notes. You're
Yes.
like you talking to one of our realtors. You're coming up with a plan. They're helping you. You always ask for help from people that you want to
Yes.
be like.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And we have so many resources.
mhm,
And yeah, we tell a lot of our story on TikTok too, if you ever are curious.
mhm.
But because we've done all of these things, is there anything? I
Oh,
mean, one of us has done all of these things.
mhm. One option that we have not done yet. Maybe you've done it. So one of our clients bought a little house. It was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and she wanted to travel, but she wanted a house hack, and she had a huge lot, like a really big lot. So what she did was she was like, I don't want anyone in my space. So she like went to travel, just had her house, the 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then she rented out her land to someone with an RV. So she was able to cover her mortgage plus some that way. Love that option as well. That's also house hacking your land.
Yeah, totally. We actually did this sort of Stay Tiny. And they built the roll off tiny home on the lot. And so we basically rent the lot to them. They take a majority of the income from it, but we get a percentage of whatever they make every month. So we don't have to do anything. They manage the Airbnb, they manage everything, and they just cut us a check every month.
Man,
so
I need to do that actually, or look into this, because for our 13th Street house. Anyway, sidebar again.
Yeah.
But then we'd have to tear it down.
But still, yeah. Yeah. But and you do lose some yard, obviously. Like if you love having a big yard, this might not be the best, but like when you think about like how much money you could potentially make every month, it could make it worth it. The one that we have in our backyard, actually, I have the numbers here. It's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's 485 square feet. It's above our garage. And so and it's alley access. So they have a parking spot. It's like a really nice setup. It's not a really nice house. Like it was built in 2005 and literally has never been touched since. It averages $3,147 a month.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. It's like this little house. It's not no frills. It does have a full kitchen. But yeah, so that is so worth it for like what I do every month, which is very little. I do have a manager who manages and cleans and all of that, but yeah, the possibilities are pretty exciting.
Yeah. And say the company again. It's Stay Tiny.
Stay Tiny, Texas. And they are, I don't know, they're like potentially on a break right now, but if you reach out, I'm sure they have resources. But reach out to us too, because we have potentially we could help you out in that way. So yeah, I know someone else is talking to me. I'm talking to someone at 4 who wants to do similar model, and like if Stay Tiny's not doing it, it's a great model.
Oh my God, love it. Okay, well, we want to. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up, right? We have nothing else.
Wrap it. Yes,
wrap it up, and we want you all to take actionable steps towards this, because a lot of times, like I do this too, where I listen to a podcast and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, and then I just like send it to a friend, and then I forget about it. Okay, if you want to actually do this, and you can also combine this with another strategy, like partnering with someone, which honestly always have done. I've always, and you've mainly done this too, of like, we've house hacked and we've partnered together, and it makes it so much more easy to grow and easy to get started sooner. So, reach out to us, reach out to our realtor team. We are the only people in the country. Honestly, I wish people keep asking us if we're going to expand, and I'm like, we are not there yet, but we have agents all over the country we can set you up with. So still reach out to us. There's a button on our website that we can connect you with someone, but if you're in Austin, or the surrounding areas of Austin, you want to do this, talk to us. It's free. It's easy. Our agents are so sweet.
And I have so much experience in this.
Yes. Yeah. So talk to us. And we also have, if you're not in Austin, again, we can connect you with someone. We also have so many resources on our blog. You can just search, house hacking, whatever, buying with friends, partnering. We also have lots of like free little mini courses. We have our course online. It's on YouTube, free, homeschool. You can go take that.
Yes.
Lots of things.
Take it. So many resources.
So pick one. And do it now. Put it in your calendar.
Yes. That is the very first action that needs to be taken.
Yeah.
And then past that, it's like continuing to listen, continuing to like think about what is possible for you. I guess that's not the best action, but there's just like so many, I almost just said, just do it, but
just do it.
But this is the planting the seed, and then the actions taken are specific to yours. But I do think that getting in touch and using our resources are important.
Yeah. And don't be scared. Like, I have planted the seed and it's taken me 1.5 years to do something, or 2 years, or whatever, you know, but like
Totally.
don't just say, I'll do it in 2 years. Like you got to do something now to
Right.
get there in 2 years.
Right.
If you want to do it in 2 years, start now.
Yes. I bought a house in 2013 and everyone's like, oh my God, like the golden area. It's like, well, yeah, but 2024 will be that in 2034, you know, like we're looking back and being like, I wish I bought back then. It's like, okay, well, that's what you're going to say if you don't do it now, in the future. So yeah, we didn't know, we didn't have all the wisdom we have now back when we bought. But we're so glad we did it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We learned for you all. So now we'll tell you all of our mistakes. And we know, like, we talk about that all the time. We did make mistakes, and like we learned so much from it, and like there's nothing you can do but learn from us.
Learn from people. Yeah. Okay, cool. This is so fun.
I know. Okay.
House hacking.
Yay.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.